In 1971, a group of rail enthusiasts formed the Isle of Wight Steam Railway, who preserved a 1¼ mile section of track between here at Wootton through to Haven Street, and have since extended the line in 1994 to over 5 miles to Smallbrook Junction, where a new interchange station was built linking the steam railway to the electric line. This provides a direct link for visitors to the attraction arriving from Portsmouth. Right, we're off to Haven Street now, and what better way to travel than by on the steam train itself. And here we are at Haven Street. Bye-bye. 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 The station is situated about halfway between Ryde and Newport on what was the Isle of Wight Central Railway. It closed in February 1966, but is now the centre of the steam railway attraction. And here to show us around and tell us about the railway is Jim Lowe. Hi, Jim.
Hello, Mark.
Now, this is really a bit different from what we have already seen earlier, because unlike boats and buses, steam trains are something the general public don't see every day. So this is an important historical attraction on the island, which opened nearly 40 years ago. How did it all start?
Yes, there was always a great love affair for the island railways, and when closure of the 2 remaining lines, Ryde to Cowes and Ryde to Ventnor, was announced, a group of enthusiasts wanted to try and save something of it, and they met in London to discuss it. And there was subsequently a move to secure a locomotive and perhaps the carriages. In fact, we ended up with a locomotive and several carriages and some wagons which were initially stored at Newport. We knew we had a limited time. Then the scrapman came along and basically said, I'm moving in on Monday or Monday week, and we're going to lift the track, so you better do something about it. And some hasty negotiations resulted in us securing the site here at Haven Street and a piece of track to Wootton. We moved here in January 1971, and as you say, that's virtually 40 years ago now, and we're having some celebrations in connection with that. Of course, at this time we had no income whatsoever, other than money from our own pockets. And as soon as we'd moved here, it was imperative that we did something to generate income. So we ran a service with one locomotive and the carriages that were serviceable to and from Wootton. And fortunately, visitors started to come en masse, and we secured some volunteers. We had lots of people turning up saying, "Oh, I'd like to help with this railway." It was exciting, it was new, it was a challenge, and that progressed. However, to run a business, we had to form an organisation, and we therefore set about creating the Isle of Wight Railway Company Limited with the trading name of the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. That started in 1972, and the business has grown since then. We secured another couple of locomotives that had worked on the island and got those steadily restored to working order. And the restoration of carriages continued. The problem was we ran out of carriages in the end, in that the number of people we had coming to visit the railway meant that sometimes we were acutely short of space.
Right.
We didn't want to lose our objectives of keeping the ambience of the island railways, and it was fortunate that in the 30s a lot of Victorian railway carriages has been sold off to become farm outbuildings, chicken houses, summer houses and so on. And we secured a number of these bodies, and to date we've brought 6 of those back into full working order, and that's given people a taste of Victorian train travel on the island. And that brings us forward to the point where in the late 80s we decided that now was the time to try and secure our long-held dream of reconnecting with the railway network up at Smallbrook,
Right.
so that we could bring people in from the mainland. And the political climate was about right. We opened negotiations with the Isle of Wight, as it was then, County Council, and the Rural Development Commission, Network South East, what became Wight Link, ferries and various other organisations, to see if, as we suspected, the climate was right. It turned out to be so, and so we set about acquiring track. We had tremendous help from British Railways in securing the materials, and we rebuilt the railway from here to Smallbrook, 3.5 miles, and British Railways, or Network South East, the sector name, provided the station at Smallbrook. There had never been a station there before. It was built on a greenfield site with no road or footpath access, and that immediately put us, when it opened in 1991, within 30 minutes of Portsmouth Harbour, which was an enormous asset in getting people to visit us who are on the mainland. It opened up a new door, to the point now where we have well in excess of 100,000 visitors a year. We hold a whole number of events here. We've got more locomotives restored, and we're carrying on with the Victorian train project, and we're among the top 5 attractions on the Isle of Wight for visitors. So we have done extraordinarily well. It's been uphill, it's been a struggle. We have all sorts of problems like any other business, but we're very proud of what we've done. We still have a large volunteer contingent, and we're very pleased that these have stuck with us. I mean, I've been here 40 years, nearly, and it's very good to see all these people enjoying what they're doing. I mentioned earlier about the need to bring these Victorian carriages into use to give us the extra capacity that we needed. And we approached the Heritage Lottery Fund, who very kindly made some money available to us towards the cost of the project itself and this magnificent building you see here, in which the work could be undertaken. And I'm delighted to say that we had the building opened by someone no less than Her Majesty the Queen in 2004. Delightful. So come along in and let's show you what we get on with here. This is where we undertake all work on carriages and wagons. And I mention wagons because you can see there's one here that we're totally rebuilding, a London Brighton South Coast one that has a significant place in the history of the island railways. So we need one of those. And then moving on down to carriages, this one has an interesting history in that it comes from the mainland. Whilst all our carriages spent much of their time on the mainland, this one has never served on the island, but it is very much part of the family, and we acquired it. It would form part of a house in Sussex, but we've acquired it now, and as you can see, it's undergoing major restoration to enable it to run with our stock. And the interesting thing is that we are adapting it by that extension at that end to provide disabled access for wheelchairs.
Oh, right.
And that's all part of our plan to improve facilities for disabled people, access for all.
What about the engines, Jim? Where are they looked after?
Right, yes, they are a major part of the equation. They're maintained over in the workshop over there. If you'd like to come with me, I'll be very happy to show you that. Right, this is the yard where we do our preparation for locomotives. This has no public access. We've got 8 steam locomotives and 3 diesels. The advantage of the diesels for moving things around quickly is that the power is available at the touch of a button. Not so much with a steam locomotive, where a lot of prepping has to be done. And here we see Calbourne being prepared for a day's work just after 7 o'clock in the morning, and our volunteers are already at work. Les is the fireman today, and the first job was to rake out any remnants of the fire from the day before.
See what I mean?
And you can see Les here putting the paper into the firebox, clean, dry paper. That will be followed by pallet wood, which burns nice and easily, to which coal is gradually added. And finally, you'll see him putting the coal on top of the pallet wood, then lighting the fire.
By the wet. Right.
The whole process then of getting the pressure in the boiler up to a working level is rather a lengthy process, about 2 hours. That is to ensure that the boiler heats through gently on an even basis, so that there's no damage caused by unequal pressures in the length of the boiler. And gradually, over a period of about 2 hours, the pressure will climb. If you look at the gauges up here, you can see that the pressure is slowly increasing. Once they get up to about 100 pounds per square inch, then the air braking system starts to work and the locomotive can be moved, and we're ready for the day's action.